Yesterday, Kyle Juszczyk was talking, and one journalist asked him a question. It wasn't about a revenge tour. It was about the rookies. And they said, it seems like this year is going to be really tough for rookies to contribute because they haven't had OTAs and minicamp, and there's going to be hard for them to just learn what they're doing. Juszczyk, who went to Harvard and might be the smartest player on the team, said, yeah, that's a great point. And on most teams, that would be true. But on this particular team, most of the players have been in this system for 3 years. And most of the players are really smart. So if one rookie is on the field and he's a little confused, he has 10 guys who know exactly what everyone's supposed to be doing and can help him. I thought that was a really good answer. And I think for 49er fans, it should make them feel confident about a guy like Brandon Ayuk, that he should be able to contribute early on because he has Kyle Juszczyk and George Kittle in the huddle helping him out. But there's a broader point from this story that you wanted to make.
Yeah, before I make that broader point, I want to talk about Harvard. I got rejected at Harvard for graduate school in English. And
really?
it hurt my parents' feelings. And they wrote to the English department. You don't even know this.
No.
I got into Stanford, okay? But I didn't get into Harvard. Thank God. Okay? Thank God. Because Stanford, and I'm in California, I got you. So anyway, and they wrote back to my dad and mom and said he was a very good candidate, but we didn't feel he was that strong in languages because you had to know like Latin and German. And I didn't know. I did French and Spanish. And at that time, Spanish, forget it. It was not considered a scholarly language. So anyway, one time the Niners were playing the Patriots. And I was there on a Saturday. And I thought, I want to go to Cambridge and see Harvard because this is where I got rejected. I want to see what it's like. Now, Iggy, you know I went to PS 193 on Bedford Avenue and Avenue Well. 5 stories, red brick. Okay, you saw it.
Yeah.
So now I go to Harvard and I'm walking around the school and it's red brick. And I said, this is 193. I did PS 193. So Harvard, God love you. I went to Stanford and I'm really happy.
I got a funny story. I always thought that Harvard was gorgeous. I've never been to Harvard, but there's a lot of movies where people go to Harvard. Legally Blonde supposedly takes place at Harvard, and that came out when I was 14. So my attitude was, that's the nicest campus in the world. Then I went to UCLA and realized whenever they say they're filming Harvard in Hollywood, it's UCLA. So UCLA is the gorgeous campus with the red brick, whatever. I have no idea what Harvard looks like. Never seen
193.
It.
It's PS 193.
When people think of it, they're thinking of UCLA.
Hey, listen, remember we went on that tour of you and I, you were applying to colleges?
Yeah, I was 16.
We walked onto UCLA. We had never been there.
Never.
What? I got
to tell you. It was going to be like Cal, but like industrial and not as nice.
Yeah. It's probably the most beautiful campus in America. Better than Stanford.
And it was an afterthought. On that trip, we went to USC, then we went to Pomona, we went to Irvine, and then finally UCLA as like, well, we should probably check it out. And like, oh, I guess I got to get my grades up and go here. And I did.
Yeah.
But it's funny. You said you went to Harvard. You applied to Harvard, didn't get in. I applied to Stanford, didn't get in, but I was waitlisted. Dad, I thought you could pull some strings. What happened on that one?
Well, I got you on the wait list.
Good point.
I got you on the wait list. But here's the thing. You went to UCLA, but you really went to Harvard.
It's true. That's true. That's right. You don't know that.
Let's get back to football.
We were talking about how the Niners have all these players who were really smart and how it's different.
Yes. I think they all could have gone to Harvard or Stanford. They have very smart players. And here's the deal. The current Niners need smart players because what Saleh presents on defense and what Shanahan presents on offense are highly cerebral. There's a lot to learn and a lot to think through on every play. And you need to have people who can grasp it and think quickly. So I believe a requirement for this team is that they be smart. I believe on Jim Harbaugh's teams. Jim Harbaugh, by the way, is very smart. You know that, Iggy. But it wasn't a requirement for him. It was a requirement to be tough and emotional.
Yes.
He was different.
Yeah.
So the temperament and the personality of his team was entirely different than what these guys are now. I would not call them smart or thoughtful. They were extremely aggressive. And as a result, sometimes very hard to get along with.
Oh, that was a really hard locker room to cover.
Oh, it was very difficult. And Jim could be difficult also, although I'd say in many ways he was delightful.
I felt like Jim had given most of his players the green light to be as unhelpful as possible as they wanted with us. And so you were looking around the locker room like, okay, like who's going to help? Who's going to want to talk? Because most of these guys have gotten the green light from Jim that you don't have to. On the current team, it's like they hear Kyle, they hear Robert Saleh, and understand how honest and in detail they go into with their answers and figure, well, why can't I do that? And maybe I'm expected to do that around here now. It's nice.
Remember when you tried to interview Frank Gore?
Oh my goodness.
Tell the story and then I'll come back to what I want to say.
I went up to Frank Gore and I forgot what I was asking him about. I said, Frank, do you have a couple of minutes so I can ask you a couple of questions? He looked at me and squared off like at the beginning of a boxing match where the two fighters stand face to face and the referee goes over the rules and tells him to be fair. He was that close to me, looking me down like, yeah, let's talk. I was like, whoa, that was interesting. So I did an entire one-on-one interview, nose to nose with Frank Gore. I figured it was important not to, blink or move back. So that's how it happened. And he answered every question.
But didn't he first, before he did that, didn't he say to the PR guy, can I talk to him?
He turned to the number 3 in command and said, am I allowed to talk to him? And the guy said, you're Frank Gore, you're allowed to talk to whoever you want to talk to. So he said, okay, I'll talk to you very close.
Okay.
Yeah.
Coming back, we keep going away from the topic, but this is fun. So Kyle, very intelligent team. Harbaugh looking for something different. Some of the players, of course, were very intelligent. Alex Smith, but I don't think it was required the way it is now. What Kyle is doing is hearkening back to Bill Walsh and George Seifert teams. Yes. You had to be smart to play on those teams. Bill's offense was every bit as complex as Kyle's. And, Joe, for example, I don't think Joe is an intellectual in life, but he was a savant at football. And he studied so hard, Iggy. He was always studying because the vocabulary was difficult. You had to make so many choices with the world crashing in on you. So I feel, and I'm saying this as praise, that what Kyle Shanahan has done, although it's not a West Coast offense, it's a Bill Walsh offense in the sense it requires smarts.
No question. Absolutely. And it seems like he and Saleh both look for players who speak their language, who they can speak the same, understand football in the same conceptual level or close to it that they do. And I don't think Harbaugh was looking for that. He required that. But from what I understand, Seifert and Walsh certainly did.
Oh, yes. I would see Walsh draw plays. Now, I didn't understand him the way you would, but there was so many options off of each play. And it was really like playing chess. Mm-hmm. It was playing chess. And Fred Von Oppen, my friend who was on those staffs on the defense, just told me that George was just brilliant. And again, George was very demanding of his players. Ronnie Lott used to freelance a lot, but Ronnie Lott understood defense. I mean, these guys were like defensive coaches. They were really, really, really smart and tough.
Yes, absolutely. That was the thing, right? When they first won the Super Bowl, their defense was better than their offense. They were a tough team.
They were a tough team. In fact, people used to say the Niners at that time were a finesse team. And that was like a curse word in that locker room because Ronnie Lott didn't think they were a finesse team. And what's more, Bill Walsh didn't think. Bill Walsh was, as you know, he and I loved boxing and talked about it all the time. And he boxed at San Jose State. He used to talk to his offensive linemen about, quote, getting the first punch.
Absolutely.
Getting in the first punch.
Absolutely.
He didn't want them to be passive. He wanted them to get in, and he used the boxing metaphor.
That's interesting coming from Bill Walsh because he wanted to establish the pass before the run. But the reason teams like running the ball and teams don't want to pass all the time is ask an offensive lineman. When you're passing, he's getting punched. He's backing up. He's taking punishment. He's a protector. But when you're running, he's the one hitting the defensive lineman in front of him. And he's probably 60 pounds heavier than that guy. The defensive lineman is going to feel it. So by getting the first punch, it wears down the D lineman for later in the game. It's one reason you see teams trying to establish the run. You're trying to let your offensive lineman hand out some punishment as opposed to take it all game.